To all the attendees, now we will start with our topic that is more famous nowadays in terms we talk about the new generations of contact lens, that is silicon hydrogel contact lens. So as I'm optometrist, I am working in my private practice as well as I am also a visiting lecturer in few optometry colleges of Gujarat, and my area of interest is in contact lens. So I decided to go with this topic, and hope you all will enjoy it too. So first of all, as you all know that what is the future of the soft contact lens, means if we talk about the future of the contact lens, then the two things will come in mind, that is silicon hydrogel lenses, that we all know, because we all know that each and every individual wants to wear contact lenses for longer wearing hours, as well as they don't want any type of dry eye symptoms. And along with that, the most famous modality is daily disposable contact lens. So these two are the future of contact lenses, soft contact lenses, as we talk about more precisely. And in daily disposable contact lenses, right now, hydrogel daily disposable are more preferred in the market because of the cost factor. But with the newer generations, we have silicon hydrogel daily disposable also available. So that is the future of the soft contact lens. So hope I make that point. So now we will move on to, first of all, we should know about the different wearing modalities of the contact lens. So as we all know that the wearing modalities which is given by FDA is daily wear, that the contact lens you have to worn during the day, and being placed on the eye in the morning, and you have to remove it from the eye before sleeping. So this is basically daily wear contact lens in which you don't sleep with contact lens at all, and the recommended wearing hours is around 6 to 9 hours, not more than that. uh, if your contact lens is silicone hydrogel, then obviously you can wear in daily wearing modalities for longer than for more than 10 hours, 12 hours also. What is flexible wear? Flexible wear contact lens is the modality in which that contact lens are worn during open eye condition most the time, but can occasionally be used in closed eye condition also. Means occasionally, in if you talk about wearing the contact lens in a week, you can sleep with contact lens in 1 or 2 days of the week. So you don't sleep with contact lens regularly, but you can sleep occasionally with the contact lens. That is especially flexible wear, which is not much popular in the market. But these two things, that is extended wear and continuous wear, I want all my attendees to be clear with this, because extended wear contact lens are the contact lens which are worn overnight for 6 nights and 7 days continuously without removing it, and the continuous wear contact lens are worn for 29 nights and 30 days without removing it. So as when the contact lens were introduced and these modalities were coming into the picture, so these four were the main modalities. And the modalities which was popular in the market was in the later stage was extended wear as well as continuous wear. But still, as you all agree, and as all I am also aware of it, and you're also aware of it, that in few countries these two modalities, the contact lens are not dispensed according to these two modalities. They just say it that these contact lens are for daily wear only. So if we talk about the history of the soft contact lens, the first availability of the soft contact lens was in 1970. And as it got famous in the market, the people wanted to wear it for extended wear purpose. So as you can say that they got one thing, that is a soft contact lens which was comfortable, but they wanted to wear it for longer wearing hours, as they want to sleep also with their contact lens. But as you all know that sleeping a contact lens will obviously make uh, or compromise with your corneal and as well as eye health. So they started doing research and they get first approval of extended wear contact lens for up to 2 weeks, which was given by FDA in 1981. And then in 1990 they developed the first silicon hydrogel lenses, which is patented by Bosch and Lomb in the name of Pure Vision, that is Balafilcon A material, as well as Alcon, you can talk Shiba Vision, that is focus night and day contact lens, which is Lotra Filcon. These two soft contact lens with a silicon hydrogel material was developed in 1990, and they were approved for continuous wear also. And then in 2010, after 2010, many of the companies started developing more higher generation of silicon hydrogel, which we will learn in the next slides. So what was the need of developing a silicon hydrogel lenses? So basically the need of developing this silicon hydrogel lenses was mostly for the therapeutic uses, that is the contact lens that are worn for treatment purposes. Yes, you can also say that the contact lens are worn for bandage, as a bandage contact lenses, which I am not going to discuss about therapeutic contact lens in detail, but at least you should know that therapeutic contact lens are the lenses which are used for treatment purpose. And they wanted silicon hydrogel because they wanted to wear an extended wear modality. So they were more convenient with extended wear, because many of the studies have shown that patient was very keen in buying an extended wear contact lens, because if we talk about the contact lens, it's not only the contact lens, the lens care product cost is also associated with it. So their annual economic data attached with the contact lens was very high if we talk about daily wear. So they were more interested to use contact lens for extended wear purposes. So as you all know that if we use contact lens for extended wear purpose, the oxygen availability to the cornea will be decreased, and you will see all these signs, like you can see in the first image, like you might have seen your patient with a red eye, that is typically a severe dry eye. Then you can see polymagnetism, that is edema in corneal endothelial cells, which is diagnosed with the help of specular microscope. Corneal neovascularization, which is irreversible complication of the soft contact lens, and that is only because of the hypoxia. Then many of the other inflammatory signs like SPKs, when severe dry eye, non-wetting corneal surface, corneal dehydration. So all this was happening when patient was wearing soft contact lens, especially of low decay, for longer wearing hours as well as extended wear purposes. So to avoid all this stuff, they came up with the idea to make a silicon hydrogel contact lens. So what you want for a contact lens should be for a healthy contact lens wearer, that it should follow their Holden and Merz criteria, that is oxygen transmissibility for a daily wear should be at least 35, for extended wear should be at least 125 or more. Their modulus should be high. So if we make the lenses with a typically a low modulus, then it would be less rigid. So it will be more soft and patient will be comfortable. Then the surface of the contact lens should be wettable. It has low contact angle, so it can easily spread the tears over the contact lens surface, and the material should resist dehydration. Dehydration of lens we will talk about pervaporation in this topic. Means if you have seen that, if you have studied in your third year or fifth sem most probably, then in soft contact lens there is one high water content property and low water content. So in this, high water content have advantage of high decay. But if we make high water content with high decay with thin lenses, that the thickness of the lens is less, then pervaporation also increases. So what is pervaporation? Pervaporation is especially the amount of oxygen amount of water and oxygen which are deprived from the contact lens anterior surface, and that is taken from the tear film. And in at the last sort of point, they take all the water and oxygen from the cornea, and that then and at the corneal surface it occurs a desiccation, that is also known as pervaporation, corneal desiccation. So if we talk about pervaporation, then it leads to dehydration of the contact lens, and patient will be not be comfortable with it. Patient will feel dryness in the eye, and your contact. And the last point, that is biocompatibility, that your contact lens should be compatible with your eyes. If we talk about any XYZ material and it is not compatible with your eye, cornea as well as tear film, it is not going to work. So your material should be biocompatible. So with this idea, they came up with the silicone hydrogel. So what was the two main part of the silicone hydrogel? As you can get it from the name itself, that is silicone. It gives high decay to the material, and hydrogel provides hydrophilic surface which makes it more wettable. So by combining these two, we get an highly oxygen permeable wettable material that is called as silicone hydrogel. This is just a brief introduction. I will go in detail in the next slide. So if we talk about oxygen performance over the eye, then which are the things which will depend, which will provide impact on the oxygen performance of the lens? That is water content of the material, which I have discussed, that if the water content is high, then the decay will be high. But if high water content with high decay with thin lenses are prescribed, then pervaporation may also occur. So you have to make the lenses with a higher thickness in such cases. Lens design that includes particularly geometrical center thickness, which is more important while you talk about decay as well as decay by T, and the monomer selection. For example, if you have heard about PMMA, then that monomer is have very less oxygen permeability as well as transmissibility. So monomer selection is very important. If you select a monomer which has higher oxygen permeability, the oxygen performance over the eye will increase. So how you will measure all this? We will measure with all these 4 points. That is, first of all, it is decay. Now going back to the basics, we will discuss about all these 4 in short and in brief, in simple terms, so you might get some knowledge about it. So what is oxygen permeability? That is decay. So oxygen permeability is the degree to which a substance is able to pass through a membrane. Oxygen is able to pass through a membrane or other material. So permeability is the molecular composition of the material. So permeability is the function of the molecular composition of the material. So from this definition, you will get that if you take a silicon monomer, then your permeability will increase at a higher scale. So this is what is oxygen permeability, that is decay. Now what is decay by T? It is different than oxygen permeability. So decay by T is the actually the amount of oxygen that pass through a given contact lens, that will pass through a lens of a given thickness. So if you mix two things, means if you talk about oxygen permeability along with the corneal thickness of that material, that is a particular thickness while you manufacturing, then that will give you oxygen transmissibility. So I am telling you again that these 2 points are different. Always keep in mind, it can be asked in your exams also, and you have to differentiate between them. Then the third thing is uh, overnight corneal swelling. This overnight corneal swelling, I will talk about this in the next slide, that certain amount of swelling, it can happen without contact lens also. And the last one is oxygen flux. So what is oxygen flux? The amount of oxygen that passes through the specific area of the contact lens per unit time, usually specified in minutes or hours. It is expressed in μl O2 per centimeter square into minute. So this is more of a laboratory technique of measuring oxygen permeability of the material, you can say that. And this is also one term by which you can check your oxygen performance of the material. So in all, we need a contact lens, as you can see from the image. It should be wettable, it should be highly oxygen permeable, it should have good amount of water content also, because if the water content is low, then there is a chance that it should be, have less decay, good mechanical property, and the thickness also plays important role in this. So what is overnight corneal swelling? Always remember that if you don't wear contact lens also, there is particular amount of corneal swelling or edema, that is known as overnight edema, which happens in your eyes. That is particularly measured in percentage of corneal thickness area. That is 2 to 4% of normal is normal without the lenses. Means you are seen when you are sleeping at night, and when you are awake in the morning, in first minute of your day-to-day activities, you feel that the image is blurred. So that is nothing, that is an edema, that is 2 to 4%, which will recover on its own. But what happened when people started wearing contact lens, especially hydrogel contact lens, over this cornea? So this edema, this swelling started increasing to 8 to 12%, which is especially with extended wear extended wear hydrogel lenses. And if we wear silicone hydrogel lenses, then we can control this corneal swelling up to 2 to 4%, which is similar to without the lenses. So anything which is greater than 7% is considered to be the danger zone. Means you are playing with the oxygen availability of the cornea. So you need to take in, you need to conscious about that if your corneal swelling is increasing by 7%. Now, there are two main criteria, as I have discussed in the previous slide. The first criteria, the first criteria which was developed in 1984 by Holden and Mertz, that is the minimum amount of dk by T required for daily wear is 24. So if your lens dk by T is less than 24, then it should not be advisable to wear for daily wear purpose also. And the minimum amount of dk by T which is required for extended wear is 87. So if you see any contact lens material whose dk by T is less than 87, and that manufacturer is asking you to give you as an extended wear modality, then something is wrong. You have to tell that manufacturer that it is not possible. So these two criteria was given by Brian Holden in 1984. Then, as it was very old, and in the newer generation material started getting developing, so Harvit and Bonanno in 1998 revised this criteria, revised the criteria of Holden and Mertz, and they told that dk by T for daily wear should be at least 35, because people started using contact lens for larger wearing hours, and their dryness and humidity was increasing day by day. So they need to increase the value. They have done research over it, and for extended wear it should be at least 125. So remember this thing, that if you want your patient to wear contact lens for these two modalities, then this is the minimum criteria it should follow. Now, whenever we talk about silicone hydrogel, we talk about modulus of elasticity. This, you can also say it as a rigidity. So what is modulus of elasticity? It describes how well a material will resist deformation. Means if you fold the lens, how it will be easily can come back to its original position. So this is known as modulus of elasticity. As you all know that silicone hydrogel are rigid lenses. They have higher modulus of elasticity compared to the hydrogel lenses, and it helps your patient in handling, and it provides excellent durability for the patient who have suffered issue with their inserting their hydrogel lenses. So silicone hydrogel elasticity is always bit greater than your hydrogel lenses, because of the two main things. that it provides easy handling also, and it provides excellent durability also. Now, going back to the chemistry of the polymer, these two things we will learn in the books, that is PDMS, that is polydimethylsiloxane, which is a silicon, chemical name of a silicon rubber. If we compare PDMS with PMMA, then PDMS is 100 times more oxygen permeable than your PMMA. So by adding a PDMS in your monomer selection, you can increase your oxygen permeability as the vast scale. Then they developed PDMS, and after developing PDMS, they mix with the hydrogel monomer, and that silicon monomer is nowadays recognized as trice. Always remember these two chemical components whenever you talk about silicon hydrogen. So what is trice? Trice is basically trimethyl siloxysilane, which has higher oxygen permeability as well as increased lens flexibility. So trice is added to your backbone, that is your hydrogel monomer. Means alone, we will see in the next slide also that alone a trice molecule cannot make a silicon hydrogen lens. You have to mix it with the hydrogel monomer. So it provides the backbone of the polymer chain. It increases the amount of oxygen that passes through the material, but it decreases the wettability and rigidity of the material. So always remember that if you are talking about silicon only, then you are decreasing the wettability and rigidity of the material in some cases. So hydrophilic monomers are added to counteract this hydrophobicity. So whenever they started when they started developing silicon hydrogen lenses, at initial stage they saw that adding a silicon in this monomer has improved oxygen permeability to the larger extent. But what was the challenge for them is the hydrophobicity. Means these lenses were not able to attract water. So to make it that, they have developed a material, that is silicon, as a revolutionary lens material. It incorporates the high decay levels of silicon with benefits of hydrogel lens material. So what the hydrogel phase do? The hydrogel phase facilitates lens movement on the cornea because water and ion diffuse through the lens. So by mixing these two, they came up with a good material. Not only silicon can make a good material, they needed to mix it with the hydrogel phase to make it more hydrophilic, because silicon is hydrophobic. So they have compared, and it was very tough at initial stage for mixing these two materials. If we talk, it is compared with mixing an oil with an water. As you have seen that many of your whenever there is a rainy season, you saw there is water on the roads, and you see a petrol or a chemical layer over the water surface. So it is a type of a silicon, so it doesn't mix with the water. Similarly, it was very difficult at initial stage to mix two, because one was oil and the other was water. Silicon is an inorganic, highly hydrophobic, and hydrogel is an organic hydrophilic material. So they finally make a way to develop this material, but it was very difficult. So how they developed it? Then after adding silicon, they applied surface properties to the lens to make it more hydrophilic. उन्होंने अपना सिलिकॉन डालने के बाद उसकी ऑक्सीजन परमिएबिलिटी बढ़ा दी. मींस दे हैव इंक्रीज द ऑक्सीजन परमिएबिलिटी, but to make it more hydrophilic, they developed these 4 techniques for improving the surface properties. That is incorporating a plasma into the lens surface. They incorporated the plasma. They added internal wetting agents to the monomer. See, means if we talk about polyvinyl pyrrolidone, which you might have learned in your bachelor studies and ICL books, it is a very hydrophilic monomer. It is very well hydrophilic monomer which has higher water content. So it makes the lens more wettable as well as hydrophobic. And then the other technique was transforming the silicon component into the silicate compound. And the last technique was to make the ultra thin permanent high refractive index, which is high refractive index continuous hydrophilic surfaces. These four techniques are bit of very confusing also, but I have made one slide to make it easier for you. But just remember that whenever a silicon hydrogel lens is made, it is necessary that we need to do a surface treatment over it. We need to add some surface properties over it. So with the help of these four techniques, we have different silicon hydrogel material available in the market. So how does silicon hydrogel contact lens serve in the comfort? When, as we have discussed about silicon hydrogel, and we are talking about the its decay by T. So what about the comfort then? When oxygen is, because the oxygen is transmitted through the silicon component, the oxygen permeability increases of the material, and by that means hypoxic problems with your extended wear decreases. Means whenever you when you will feel discomfort when not a particular amount of oxygen will not pass through the lens, so you will feel hypoxia. Your eye will be hypoxic, and your cornea will start having some type of edema, and you will feel discomfort. So by this means the silicon hydrogel was successful in providing comfort. And as we have discussed that silicon hydrogel makes the lens less dehydrated as compared to high water content lenses, it increased the comfort. So by this two means they have increased the comfort. How they make it wettable? Because they wanted to make it wettable, because contact angle comes into picture. Whenever we talk about wettability, always remember contact angle. Contact angle is ability of a fluid to spread over the contact surface. So if the contact angle is less, the more wettable so they will be the surface. So they developed silicon hydrogel with a lesser contact angle, and in turn they started increasing. They were able to increase the wettability of the material. So higher wettability results in more comfort. But as we have discussed also that rigidity has been a part which is issue with the silicon hydrogel, but it has benefits also. Don't think as an issue, because each and every individual is different. We will discuss about this in detail also. But if we increase the rigidity of the lens, that is we are adding silicon, it will increase the rigidity, then uh, your handling will improve, and small portion of corneal astigmatism can also be masked as well. I am practicing specialty contact lens also. In my practice, I have seen that whenever I use a silicon hydrogel lenses in my mild to moderate keratoconus patient, their vision improves well as compared to this spectacle, because of the rigidity, the certain amount of corneal astigmatism is masked. But as we know that silicon hydrogel is not available with higher cylinders, we are not able to do in advanced cases, but the rigidity also helps this way. So these were the advantages. Finally, we talk about the advantages of the silicon hydrogel lenses. That is, I will take it quickly. That is, increased oxygen transmission, more resistant to protein deposit. You have studied in your bachelor studies, bachelor's as well as in your masters also, that higher water content, higher amount of deposit. Here silicon hydrogel are not more such higher water content lens. They are particularly low or a mid water content lens. So they are more resistant to protein deposit. But one type of deposit which I will want to write into the chat box, that which deposits are more common with silicon hydrogel, and you can write in the chat box about that if you know about it. Then other advantage is less dehydration, which can lead to lesser risk of infection, easier handling, and lower incidence of complication with extended wear use. Many studies are going, and many evidence studies are there in which they say that silicon hydrogel are more helpful in extended wear as compared to hydrogel, because I have explained you that the decay by T value of silicon hydrogel is always greater than the criteria which is given by Holden and Merz and Harvith and Bonanno. So there are lesser incidents of a complication, and More fitting options are also available in silicon hydrogel nowadays, that is torics as well as sphericals as well as multifocals. Means silicon hydrogels are available in each and every segment. So what are the drawbacks? Higher the modulus of elasticity has caused epithelial compromise. Their older generation, if we talk about the different generation that we will take in the next slide, there were cases in which they have told that the in, higher the modulus of elasticity has caused epithelial compromise because of the rigidity. Then the second point which I have asked, that is uh, which type of deposits are more common with silicon hydrogel lenses, and many of you have answered correctly also, as I can see from the chat box. I'm very happy to see that. That is, lipid deposits are always greater compared to hydrogel in silicon hydrogel lenses. And the third most important drawback, in which we as maybe your Nepal is also suffering from, that is more expensive lenses than hydrogel lenses, and the rigid material can cause adaptation issue also. So how to overcome this adaptation issue, I will explain you with the help of my experience in the next few slides. So this is the history of your silicon hydrogel contact lenses and how they were evolved. The first patents and the patency which was given at the first on the first in 1996 was to Grisir by CSIRO, that is Commonwealth Scientific Research Organization. They developed patents to develop a material which can be used for extended wear modality. So they were not ready with the material also, but they developed some type of material. They have seen that silicon is can increase the decayability of the lens, and you can use it for extended wear modality. In 1998, Nicholson that from Ciba Vision, you might be aware about this company, came up with focus day and night silicon hydrogel contact lens in 1998. It's not very recent; it's very old. So that is Lotra Filcon, and Bosch and Lomb came up with the Bala Filcon, which is Pure Vision, which is marketed by the name of Pure Vision in 1998. So the first generation of the contact lens arrived for silicon hydrogel is Lotra Filcon and Bala Filcon, which was developed by Ciba Vision and Bosch and Lomb respectively. The second generation, which came up in 2003 by Vistacon, that is also known as Johnson and Johnson, and it is Filcon, that is an AccuView advanced product. And the last which they developed in 2005, that is OSS, that is Cenofilcon, which is a derivative of Filcon, and these two are second generation. Now we will talk about the generations of silicon hydrogel. So as I have discussed, the first generation are Lotra Filcon and Bala Filcon, developed in 1998. You will be amazed to hear that this generation material was approved by FDA for continuous wear also. So initially, silicon hydrogel was used as an extended wear and continuous wear product, and still many countries are using it. But the researches are still going on. The second generation includes all your Johnson product, that is Filcon, Cenofilcon, and this Lotra Filcon, which was developed by Ciba Vision. They came up with the new technology, what was new, I will explain in the next slide, and it was included in the second generation. And the third generation, which includes Filcon and N-Filcon, which was developed by Cooper Vision, Biofinity, as well as Evera, respectively. One more thing I want you to add in your chat box. If you know about the third generation material other than these two, you can write in your chat box. I will take that later. So these are the three generations. How they differ from each other, we will discuss in the next slide. So they differ from each other on the basis of the surface treatment. So the first generation material was treated with the plasma therapy. Means plasma was sprayed over the contact lens surface, and that acts as a hydrophilic surface, and it makes the lens more wettable. So this was the first generation. The first picture you can see is the first generation material, which includes plasma therapy as well as plasma coating also. Both are different. If you want, we will discuss it later also. And the second generation material, which we were talking about, Johnson and Johnson and Cibavision Air and O2 Optics, they added polyvinyl pyrrolidone. That is an external wetting agent. So these two silicon monomer you can see in this slide, but they added this polyvinyl pyrrolidone chain in that monomer, and then they were able to make the surface more hydrophilic. And the third generation, it was the latest, and it is still now under the best quality of contact lens which are available in the market. That is third generation. It has siloxane molecule which can transfer oxygen as well as hydrophilic material inside only. So no external wettable agent as well as therapy was needed. So this was manufactured at a later stage, and this Biofinity, Cooper Vision Biofinity and Evara are made up of have siloxane monomer, which provides oxygen permeability as well as good amount of hydrophilicity also. So these are the three treatments which I have described you earlier also, and this is a pictorial graphication of the treatments. This is the classification. You can see from the slide that first generation, these two, low water content. One thing I want you all to see is modulus, plasma surface treatment, and approval for modality. So first generation has a higher modulus, and as you can see that when they develop a second generation, they were able to control that modulus of elasticity. And in the third generation, it was always a similar, it was similar to the second generation. So the surface treatment was a plasma surface treatment was applied in here. I have talked to you about this polyvinyl pyrrolidone as added in the monomer, and nanoglass surface with a naturally wettable backbone was included in the third generation. You can see here that 30 days continuous wear was approved, and second generation was approved for extended wear, and similarly third generation is still approved for extended wear. So nowadays, mostly hardly any countries are prescribing these lenses on continuous wear. Also, India, and if we talk about India, in India we don't dispense these lenses for extended wear purpose. Also, we always recommend for daily wear only. So this is again one classification which is given in IACL. You can see water content. The water content is less, still decay is high, but you can see modulus is also high. So this modulus was causing issue. We will talk about it in the later slides. And one last thing which I want in this generations, which is a bit of boring topic, I know, but one thing I want you all to see that this is the monomers which were selected. So you will see the name like PDMS, trice, which I was talking about, and they mixed with the hydrogel monomer, and they were able to make a silicon hydrogel lens. So you can refer this table for monomer selections for example, whichever monomer has been used in by which company. So as you all are aware about the FDA classification for hydrogel lenses, now we will talk about the FDA classification which was developed recently, not very recently, but around in 2012. That is for silicon hydrogel especially. That is group 5A. They have separated the fifth classification of FDA classification into silicon hydrogel. That is 5A, 5B1, 5B2, 5C, and 5D. You can study over it because it's still under the research. I didn't get a more evidence over this, but this classification is given to the market. And one thing which was added in this classification is the surface treatment along with water content and ionicity. So as you can see, there some are surface treatment, some have water content, some have low water content. So you can study about it. So now come to the most main part, that is a business, that is indication you can say, and that is well as counseling also to your patient. So which are the patient which are indicated for your silicon hydrogel lenses? Uh, The patient which are uh, uh, indicated for silicon hydrogel lenses are mostly the digital, uh, uh, extensively using patient which are using digital devices for more than 9 to 10 hours a day. That patient can use these lenses. We have came up across many patients which have a habit of taking a nap while working, because as silicon hydrogel are have higher oxygen transmissibility, that patient you can use for uh, this type of lenses. Then we can talk about the silicon hydrogel lenses which are used for therapeutic purpose, for giving treatment as a bandage lenses. And after that you can see a girl which has a higher amount of refractive error, and such patient can be shifted to silicon hydrogel also. So with the help of silicon hydrogel, she will be able to wear the contact lens for larger wearing hours. And the patient who are already into practice with complaint of discomfort, tired eyes, redness, blurriness of vision are always a good indicator of prescribing this type of lenses. And I advise all my practitioner as well as students to use a grading scale. Means whenever you are doing a contact lens workup for a normal patient also, you do it with a scale, and if you see that the grading scale is showing the value beyond the grade 2, then it is a time your patient should shift to your silicon hydrogel. So these are the indication in short. Many other indication are also there, but these are the commonest. So what are the practical fitting advice which I would like to tell you, which I have experienced while prescribing fitting? Because as you all know that fitting a soft contact lens is very easy, but you need to follow few steps. But I will not go in detail about this, but basic evaluation you require, like slit lamp examination, keratometry reading, normal workup, and every push-up test. But along with that, what I advise to my patient to minimize the contact between the fingers and the contact lens. Because if they will touch the contact lens before insulting, you should clean the lens first. But after cleaning, you should keep it on your finger and then directly put it into your eye, because increasing contact with your finger will make it more uh, susceptible to the lipid deposit. So always advise your patient to minimize contact as soon as more as possible, because it will help to reduce the risk of infection also. Then the other point I have asked many of my patients to do is to place the lens on the sclera. Because silicon hydrogel are bit tough lenses, you can put it on this sclera and you can manipulate with your lids, that you can easily move with your lids, and you can ask the patient to look towards the contact lens, and then your contact lens will be fitted properly over the lens, over the cornea. So avoid contact as more as possible when you are dealing with silicon hydrogel lenses, because there are evidence which shows that it has higher lipid deposit when the contact with the surface is increasing. Then the second is, which many of you might have experienced, that when your hydrogel patient is shifted to silicon hydrogel, they are not adapted at initial stage. Why? This comes the rigidity as well as modulus come into the picture, because hydrogel lenses has lesser modulus as compared to silicon hydrogel lenses. So your patient will be not comfortable at initial stages. So ask your patient that silicon hydrogel are slightly harder lens, not say it's a hard lens, but a rigid lens. It will be adapted for by minimum of 3 days to 7 days. And if at all, if your patient is not comfortable at all, then again you check your base curve as well as keratometry reading, and try giving the higher generation. For example, if you are giving a Bausch and Lomb PV2, I'm just taking an example. It doesn't mean that that is bad and this is good. If you are taking an Bausch and Lomb lenses, and if you are prescribing that to your patient, and patient is not comfortable at initial stages, I have seen that patient wearing Johnson and Johnson Etafilcon material are not comfortable at initial stage with the Bausch and Lomb lens because modulus of Etafilcon is very less as compared to Balafilcon. So I shift that patient from higher modulus material to a lower modulus. That I do by prescribing silicone hydrogel of second generation as well as of the same company. Other than I will prescribe the third generation material. And if at all, if your patient is wearing for lesser hours, then the last option your patient is not able to adapt with the silicone hydrogel is the hydrogel contact lens. So what about aftercare? Always ask about wearing schedule. I have seen that many of the practitioners just ask के आप कितने घंटे contact lens, how many hours of you wear this your contact lens. So they just reply patient के 6-7 घंटे. But it is not the way. You should ask like at morning, at what time you insert the lens, and at night, at what time you remove it. By that means, if he said that I insert at 9 and I will remove at 9, that obviously he needs a silicone hydrogel because his wearing hours is more than 10 hours. So always ask about wearing schedule indirectly, how they are taking care and maintenance. All these care and maintenance instruction should be given not verbally with a leaflet or a pamphlet of your clinic name, and because more verbally you speak, they will forget. Other thing I have recommended and I have asked also, that always check for deposit, that is lipid deposits are very common. So many of the patients come with deposited silicone hydrogel lenses. What I have seen that patients are using a normal multi-purpose solution, because nowadays we have a lens care products LCPs which are approved for silicone hydrogel only. And if we talk in brief about this, that is BioTrue by Bausch and Lomb and Alcon Optifreeze, Replenish, Pure Moist. All the newer version are good with silicone hydrogel lenses. So whenever you see deposit, tell them to rub the lens and then rinse the lens and then insert, because rubbing may loosen the lipid deposit. And if at all they are doing it and still deposits are seen, then you can check their lens care products also. And the last point I have discussed, that rubbing is very important with silicone hydrogel. So as we have talked that this is very good material, it has so much of benefits. Along with that, it has challenges also. So what are the benefits? Lesser corneal swelling, which you all might be agreed till now. Reduce limbal as well as bulbar hyperemia. Decrease neovascularization, which is a dangerous sign. This corneal is extremely hypoxic, which so decrease neovascularization. Myopic regression. Many of the studies have shown evidence that the myopia has increased after using hydrogel lenses with a high decay lenses because of the dehydration. But there are studies which have shown that there is a hyperopic shift, but it's not like the power will decrease, but there is a bit of hyperopic shift, and your patient might feel that there is a myopic regression. But in such cases, if you want to do refraction, ask the patient to stop wearing the contact lens for at least 3 days if he is wearing a silicone hydrogel with a higher modulus, and then check the refraction. Mostly it's not like ortho-K with silicone hydrogel that it will reduce the power, but some amount of regression you might see while doing over refraction. Fewer epithelial microcysts. Microcysts are the signs which are associated with silicone hydrogel, with your corneal edema and hypoxic condition, and lesser risk of microbial keratitis. I have given question mark over it because studies are not that much evident that silicone hydrogel reduces microbial keratitis. It is studies are under process. Silicone hydrogel can also lead to microbial keratitis, which is sight-threatening disease. But the chances of microbial keratitis has reduced up to some extent with silicone hydrogel. This I have segregate the normal complication, you can say, or maybe challenges with hydrogel and silicone hydrogel in this case, in this slide. That if you see, if you have mechanical complication, then you might see complication like contact lens induced papillary conjunctivitis, which is GPC, which mostly all the patients are seeing in the upper tarsal conjunctiva. Practitioners are seeing in the upper tarsal conjunctiva with a papillae over there, allergic response to the lens material. Lipids are more prone to the GPC. So Cl with silicone hydrogel, 6% incidence of CLPC is still there. There is 6 to 8% incidence of SEAL, that is superior epithelial arcuate lesion, that is basically in the near the upper limbus, 0.5 mm inside from the upper limbus, because of the mechanical pressure of the eyelids as well as contact lens edge. And the last thing which I got from the studies, that they have seen conjunctival epithelial flaps. What is that? You can see the edge of the lens here, and you can see this marked line. So this is conjunctival epithelial flap, which has occurred due to silicone hydrogel lenses. This term is used to describe conjunctival epithelium splitting from its underlying tissue, which might sheet the neighboring conjunctiva. So उधर का conjunctiva loss हो जाता है, और maybe some amount of bacteria might get accumulated there, and there are chance of infection from that part of the eye. So if you see some type of staining, and these flaps are stained with fluorescein, and if you see some type of staining like this, discontinue lens wear, or you can shift to a low modulus contact lens, silicone hydrogel contact. And these are common, that is corneal erosion, which is a dangerous sign, that is more seen in extended wear contact lens as compared to daily wear contact lens. In this, the contact lens is adhered to the corneal epithelial, and whenever you try to remove that contact lens, you feel pain as well as photophobia. So these are the basic signs and symptoms from which you can be able to recognize this complication, that is corneal erosion. And one thing which was very common with silicone hydrogel, still it is not a dangerous sign, but you might see with this high first generation silicone hydrogel lenses, that is mucin ball, that is referred to precorneal deposits or lipid plugs, appears in post lens tear film. Mucin balls forms within few minutes of lens insertion, but appears to have no adverse effect. So what they do, the lipid deposits get mixed with your tear, and they form small dots like balls in behind the contact lens surface in the tear film, and sometimes it gets stained also. And this this doesn't show that there is an adverse reaction, but they are seen with a high modulus silicone hydrogel lenses, and nothing to worry about it. And other inflammatory events, I will not go in detail because complication again is a huge topic. So we will discuss in short, that is contact lens induced acute red eye. This is also known as CAM syndrome, which is because of infections. Contact lens induced peripheral ulcer, eye infiltrative keratitis, which is seen in microbial keratitis, in many other inflammatory signs of the eye, and microbial keratitis, which is a sight threatening disease. And these are the brands which are available, and for in different generations of silicone hydrogel. For example, PV2 is the first generation, O2 Optics is the second generation, AcuView Oasis is the second generation, Biofinity is the third generation, and this one which I have asked in the previous slide, that which is the third generation silicone hydrogel, and we'll see who has answered that. That is Ultra by Bausch & Lomb is the third generation silicone hydrogel, which has developed recently only. So after all this, why this silicone hydrogel is not able to conquer the world? The three main points I will discuss here, not in detail, just in short. That the first thing is cost. Cost has affected tremendously in the developing as well as developed countries of the world, because patients are not that much aware of about the contact lens, and whenever they talk about the contact lens, they feel that it is very expensive thing. But you have to explain them that whenever you will compare it with your clothes or buying a clothes, it's almost the same. because many of the patients have 4 pairs of shoes but only 1 pair of glasses and no contact lens. So you can correlate like that also, but the cost has been a drawback. Second, availability of parameters. Many of the third generation comes up to higher parameters like +20, -20. Still, higher cylinders are not available in the market with silicone hydrogel. So availability of the parameter is the second point. In many of the OPDs with specialty lenses like mine OPD are suffering some issue with these lenses, that is availability of the parameters. And the third, which is the most uh, uh, funny thing which I have seen given in this slide, that we will read it. This is how would we get to work if we believe the saying, if it ain't broke, if it is not broke, don't fix it. So in by this image, I just want to show you that people are traveling from the one places to other places for work for any other issue. But if they have thought in that way, by going in through a horse cart, they are able to go to their workplace. So right now also, this vehicle was not invented, might not have been invented. So it's like that. I have make this correlation with your contact lens patient, that many practitioners feel that they don't want to shift their hydrogel patient into silicone hydrogel patient. Why? Because they feel there is nothing broken, nothing is happening. Why to shift? But whenever we see in detail, but whenever we talk about the wearing hours, whenever we talk about the lifestyle of the patient, we see that the patient needs particularly higher decay by T material and latest technology for their contact lens wearer. So we need to shift the patient. So if this man has not, if, especially human beings have not thought about it, we might have not invented vehicle also. So same thing can be correlated with the contact lens. That if you feel your hydrogel patients are happy, uh, try seeing and try ask, give them an option of silicone hydrogel, which will help them to improve their oxygen transmissibility as well as corneal health. So conclude, I will just like to conclude in this final slide that silicone hydrogel is an emerging option for practitioners to fix the oxygen related issue. Educating patient about new contact lens option will help to keep them interested in the latest innovation. Talk about the silicone hydrogel designs and material whenever they visit your clinic. And as an optometrist, patient look to you as an eye care practitioner, so you should give the best decision when it comes to contact lens. So as an optometrist, I advise you to prescribe good higher decay by T material to whomsoever which is needed to your patient. By that means you can increase your silicone hydrogel OPD. So thank you. These are my reference. I am not attached with any of the manufacturing companies. There is no financial interest in showing the photographs of the product. But if you have any doubts related to these products, you can ask me, because I am practicing these products since last 4 years. So thank you. This is my contact number and my Gmail address. And now we can go for question and answer session. Thank you. Thank you, Kapil. Thank you, Miro. I care.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful presentation, and also thanks to all the attendees for and yes,
should I read the question? Okay.
Yes,
your voice is breaking, Kapil. Your voice is breaking.
I'll check it.
Yeah. So I have asked many questions also in between, and they have answered right also. I can see in the chat box. Monil Chapaneria has answered right. Ritik Gurnani has answered right. Lipid deposit. Prasanna has answered my question. Other question, that is Sam Philcon A. Ritik Gurnani has one question. I will read. We have categorized this material in different generation, but what about materials which aren't included in this generation? I mean, what about other silicon hydrogel materials? Why aren't they included in this generation? So Ritik, basically what is happening that nowadays every 6 months new products are coming. So they are categorizing this in this criteria, but still it requires a particular amount of evidence to incorporate them into the particular generation, because sometimes they, if they feel that one technology is not going well, they come up with the other technology. Where the same thing happens with Johnson and Johnson. The Acura advanced product was not successful, and now they came up with Acura OSS. So many silicon hydrogel daily disposable have also come into the market, but yeah, you can say that it is a you can add them in the group, but it will take time. So the next question: what about BioTrue Bosch and Lomb? BioTrue, Kiran, BioTrue Bosch and Lomb is a one-day disposable product. The material is Nizophilcon A. It is not a silicon hydrogel lenses. It is a hydrogel lenses whose higher water content is higher, and its water content is similar to the water content of the eye. You can say that. So BioTrue one day is not included in silicon hydrogel category. Premio Monil Champaneria, again you have answered perfectly. It is included in the third generation. Then Siva, what is modulus? We have talked about modulus Siva in elasticity and rigidity. That how much time it will take to resist the deformation. Means whenever we talk about modulus, there it comes to pictures come into the two things come into the picture. That is thickness as well as rigidity. So silicon hydrogel has particular thickness along with rigidity. So by that means they are controlling the modulus of the material. Hope it answers that. If any other question you can add on. Then the next question is, do we have any information about the polymer used in Nasophyllcon A? Sorry, I don't know about that. Kajal, sir, can you make it simple how we come to know about ionic and non-ionic material in different brands of contact lens while doing FDA grouping? So, what is ionic and non-ionic? You know about it. There is a charge over the surface of the material. For that, in one slide I have mentioned there are polymers and monomers which are included in the product. So from that monomer, the ionicity comes into picture, because few monomers have a negative charge, so they are more ionic, and few monomer have a positive charge, so they are less ionic. So particularly if you want to go in detail about ionicity, you need to refer back to the monomer of the material. Tell about the difference between dk and dk by t. I hope I have answered that in the slide, and I will explain if the time permits. If any other question, please ping message in the chat box. I will be happy to answer that. By that time, I will be once again. I will explain once again to you about dk and dk by t. It's okay, Kapil, or should we ask go further
Uh,
about the other question?
yes, sir. I guess we have a time limit, so we can go for the another question. And we also have we have to wait for 5 minutes to end the session. So I guess it will be better if we proceed with the another question, sir.
Okay. What does it mean when 125 dk by t is written above a contact lens bar? Can understand in a layman language so that we can told easily to that patient. dk 128 dk by t. It means that particularly what Gulab Singh, what I will like to share with you on this question, that I have one poster which showing oxygen molecule at one side and lens in between, and behind there is an eye. So I have you might get that poster from the ICL also. So whenever we talk about dk by t to the patient, always show that poster, stick in your OPD or your clinic or your optical, and it shows that this much amount of oxygen is coming, and if your lenses will have this much amount of dk by t, then on this side of the lens your eye will get this much amount of oxygen. So by giving a poster, you can explain to your patient about dk by t, and you can also explain in simple ways that dk by t is related to the like if human beings want to if they want to live, they should breathe. Similarly, if your contact lens want to be hydrated or to live, they should also breathe. So dk by t is can directly correlate to the oxygen transmissibility in this simple manner. Hope it answers that. Second thing is, Sarath, how does the hypergel lens material differ from SiHy? Hypergel, one question was that is Nisophilcon A by Biotrue one day material. It has higher water content, no silicone monomer. That means PDMS or trice is not included in the material complex. So hypergel lens material has a higher water content, which if you study, if you go to their website, they have seen that it mimics the lipid layer of your tear film, and by that means the cornea is hydrated and it provides good amount of oxygen. As still it is a daily disposable product, you will not recommend for longer wearing hours, and hypergel materials are good for patient who want soft as well as comfortable contact lens daily disposable wear. What will be your suggestion for patient will with silicone hydrogel contact lens in challenging environment as well as industrial world? Suggestion, first thing, if the patient is wearing contact lens, any type of contact lens, it might be an RGP or a normal soft contact lens also. If we talk about environmental susceptibility, that is any type of deposit which is entering from the environment and the patient is not working in a good environment, then protective eyewear is the first option. But if we talk about silicone hydrogel, they works very well in humid environment. Means, for example, if your patient is working in a air conditioned room for longer hours, for that patient the dryness symptoms will be relieved after wearing this silicone hydrogel lenses. So silicone hydrogel are susceptible to the environment, but they have higher dk by t, which takes care of this environmental susceptibility. I hope it answers well. So that's why the patients who are working in more air conditioned area, means AC and AC environment is there, so for them, we usually prescribe silicone hydrogel lenses. Sir, higher decay by T and higher water content can result in pervaporation. How we will manage that in silicone hydrogel lenses? See, higher decay in hydrogel material is because of the high water content. Okay, so when there is a high water content, and if the lens is too thin, then only pervaporation occurs. So to overcome that, many of the manufacturers came with the low water content thin lenses. So if we talk about especially silicone hydrogel lenses, then silicone uh, has less water content. If you will see this slide, you will be able to see that the water content is relatively less. You can see pure vision water content is 36% only. So by that means we are controlling pervaporation in silicone hydrogel lenses, and along with that the modulus is also high, that is thickness also come into the picture. Thickness is also high, so it will lead to less pervaporation. Okay, I hope it answers, Prasanna. Thank you for your question. And Kapil is
So I
no
guess
other.
we have, yes. Yes, sir. I guess we have answered many of the question here. So if anybody
Okay.
have the question, please you can unmute yourself and proceed with the question. Before that, sir, I have a confusion on the conjunctival epithelial fault. Like if the people are using the silicon hydrogel lens or any contact lens which
Huh.
was tight fittings in long, even in the scale lenses, we saw the such type of epithelial fold. So is
Yeah.
it only the special case for the silicon hydrogel
Yeah.
lenses only, or other type of lenses?
As you will go to the ICL modules, and when you will not read about this conjunctival epithelial flaps in ICL module, if I am not wrong. So by when I was studying about silicon hydrogel recently, I came across this wonderful topic that conjunctival epithelial cells, flaps, are seen in silicon hydrogel, especially first generation material, because they have very high modulus. So the area near the edge, which is 0.5 mm away from the edge of the lens, you can see in the diagram. So that gets separated and it gets stained by the fluorescein, and it is not a dangerous sign also, you can say that, because it sometimes after few days of discontinuous contact lens wear, it gets resolved on its own. So it is a typically a one sign of a high modulus silicon hydrogel lenses, so you don't get worried if you see such signs in silicon hydrogel patients. So it is mostly because of silicon, its modulus. These flaps are happening. Okay, thank you, Kap.
Okay, sir.
Hope it answers
Okay,
your
sir.
question.
So yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got it. Sir. Thank you so much. So I guess we
Uh,
have answered
yeah,
many of the questions.
mostly all the
So
question,
if
and
yes,
for
sir.
those who want to ask anything personally, they can contact my email address also. This mobile number is for emergency only, so you can drop a message. I will reply, and you can contact through my email also. And I hope I am able to explain you about silicon hydrogel very well and in easy manner, because it is a very complex structure. Still, it's
Yes, sir.
interesting. I love it. My
Yes,
interest
sir.
is in
It's
contact, and
yes, sir.
I also do specialty contact lens, and my normal OPD contact lens are happy with silicon hydrogel. So thank you, Kapil. Thank you, Miro I, for inviting me as a speaker. It was a wonderful experience, and thank you once again. So we can end
Thank you
it the
so much,
session
sir.
now.
Yes, sir. So now I'm closing the discussion session, and
Okay. Thank you, Kapil. Should
yes, sir. Thank you so much. Before ending the today's session, sir, I would like to express my sincere gratitude towards the today presenter, Mr. Purab sir, and all the attendees. And also, I would like to appreciate all the helping hands for the iTux program. And herewith, I'm ending the today's session, requesting you all please provide your review and feedback for the platform to make better for the tomorrow. So thank you so much. Stay safe, keep in touch. Thank you so much, and thank you so much. Purab sir. Have a
okay,
good
Kapil.
time.
I am glad you all loved it. I am getting a comments in the chat section also. So hopefully many people are loving it, and we're hoping to see
Yes, sir.
to conduct the session for future also. Thank you, Kapil. Thank you,
Yes,
Sridhar.
sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Have a good time, sir.